Hey, it's Aaron, the Metal Theologian. Check this shit out. So, I talk a lot about like private press, like metal records and shit on this channel. And I know that a lot of this shit's like, at best, hard to find. Often hard to find and expensive, right? And I bought a lot of this shit a long time ago. It's not like I'm a billionaire sitting here or anything. So, I want to pay it forward where I can, right? Anyway, sometimes there are reissues, but sometimes there's bands that people have snoozed on. So check this one out, man. Fucking got a thick, like, cardboard stock cover like that. It's from 1984. It's got one of these kind of cheap-looking private covers. It has a really funny-looking guy with a dank mustache. Yeah, but for some reason this record's still relatively cheap, man. So this is Upper Echelon. Not a great band name. But this record fucking smokes, dude. And this is not like an expensive one. Listen to this shit. I've talked about these guys before, but I don't know, man. It's time to come back around and hype them again because when it's a $300 record, then I'll quit hyping it. Actually, I'll probably quit hyping it long before then, but no, I mean, I'll probably continue to hype it is what I mean to say. I just won't tout it as a cheap record. I mean, it's not like dirt cheap. This isn't like a $5 record, but you know, it's not like a $100 record either. For what it is, it's pretty cheap. So. Here's another one, actually. This is like a new wave British heavy metal one that people kind of snooze on. This one doesn't seem to come up very much, you know. I just did 12-inch with The Shadow and Salvation. But yeah, Original Sin is the band. And, I mean, it's not the greatest thing ever, okay? If you want this to sound like, I was going to say like the Satan single or Hollow Ground, but I mean, I even put like, you know, Omen Searcher over these guys, you know. But, you know, they're as good as like, I don't know, I'm thinking of Overkill. But I don't know if anyone even knows that fucking 45 except for me. Anyway, it's okay. It scratches the itch, you know what I mean? And this is like, I don't like talking about money, but, you know, there's probably like a $20 record or something like that. So, a lot cheaper than a lot of the other shit, and kind of cooler than, you know, just getting like another Witchfinder General reissue or something like that, you know? So, Original Sin. And mind you, the Witchfinder General shit is actually better than this. It's just kind of in a different vein, you know what I mean? There's like a difference of stature between the two bands, you know? Which is funny to invoke Witchfinder General as like a bigger band, you know? But I suppose by the standards they are, you know? It's kind of funny how that's all it takes, isn't it? So what else have I played lately? Oh, here's another one, actually, that I want to talk about a little bit, because it's also cheap and it's really good. In fact, I'll throw it on for a minute, man. There are a couple bands called Lazy. And, you know, it's funny, because I tend to think I like the Japanese band more. Because someone put this actually on a mixtape for me a long time ago. They put it on one song called Dreamy Express Trip, and I've always thought that was great. This is the Japanese Lazy. That was actually around from the early 70s. This is like 1980-ish. And this band more or less turned into Loudness later on, but like this earlier stuff is more like sort of hard rock. And it's good, but I find myself just like not going nuts over this record. I don't know, I feel like a lot of the Japanese records are just kind of missing something, man. And this one kind of does that too. I don't know. It's funny, I'm like the anti-Greeno on that front, because he loves anything Japanese. Like the Japanese shit from the 80s, like the metal shit, I tend to not completely get. So anyway, all this by way of saying that I tend to think I like that record more, but when I was playing this one yesterday for the first time in a few years, I was like, dude, this record fucking smokes. So first of all, in the spirit of the last video, we're talking about bad and good as being, you know, different variables. So we're going to savor the badness of this record, okay? Check out that guy, man, and that fucking pose. Like, it's like you see the pose and you're like, yeah, it's kind of a bad pose, but like when you see like the quality of the painting, it gets a lot better. Check that out. He's even got a mustache, dude. Maybe it's just a shadow. No, I'm not so sure. In my headcanon, he definitely has a mustache. Yeah, and these guys are Swedish. And when I was listening to this last night, I kept trying to decide if they like had that sort of Swedish magic or not, you know? Because they don't sound like a typical Swedish band, you know? So I probably have to say no. But they're really good anyway, you know? It's still upper echelon though. Is this fucking good? I'm like dawdling. I'll put the Lazy record on in a minute. I'll come with one more to talk about. Here, I'll hype this one for a minute actually, okay? Yeah, so these Accuser records have just gotten reissued on Brutal Planet Records. Friend of the program. Yeah, Matt Hunt over there is definitely a friend of the program, so be transparent on that front, as is Scott Waters, who helps out with the art and shit. But, yeah, this is, you know, Accuser, after their first couple records sounded really German, and starting, like, with their, I'm spacing the fucking title, the one with the guy carrying the cross, you know what I mean, like the Jesus guy on it. I don't know if he's actually supposed to be Jesus, and they kind of stick over, so I'm trying to sidestep it, and not eloquently calling him the Jesus guy, so that's what I'm trying to convey here. But you know the one where he's like the carrying the cross up the Golgotha deal. Anyway, that record started sounding a lot more American, and it took me a minute to get my head around that. But once I did, I was like, "Damn, dude, that's really good." And these later Accuser records, which have never been on LP before, yeah, actually, I'll show you the other one too. These are like brand new editions of these that are out. I haven't even cracked the other one yet. No, I can't find it. I'll show it later in another video. I'll just have to hype it again. Anyway, man, if you like that sort of like American sounding Accuser, this is a really cool record, man. I put it on the other night, so there aren't a whole shit ton of these. I don't know how many there are, but there probably aren't more than 300. It might well be less. So, you know, grab it while it's available. It's a really good shit. It's really good shit. Is this fucking awesome, man? Here, I'm gonna take it off from it though. We're gonna listen to Lazy so I can hype them too, because that record's cheap too. Actually, you know where I got this Lazy record? I don't always remember where I got every single record. I don't remember where I got the Upper Echelon record. I remember sent away. Actually, I don't think I did send away for it. I might have found it in the wild in LA, but I'm not sure. Anyway, yeah, there was a distro, a metal distro, and like maybe around 2005 or 6, somewhere in there, called Swaying Ball, which I always thought was kind of a dumb name, but the guy was really cool, and he had a lot of good shit. Anyway, he had like some like LP blowout at one point, like with a whole bunch of shit. It was $5 for everything, you know? And I had seen this one on his list, and I kind of balked at it because the condition was a little rough, and I mean, they're called Lazy, you know, but like the cover's a little bent up, you know? I was like, yeah, for $5, I'll check it out. Well, I don't know if you can touch this for less than like 20 now, but it's still not an expensive record. It's really fucking cool. And yeah, I didn't pay much for this record, but it's kind of more like, you know, so I talked about getting this shit a while ago. That shit used to happen occasionally, you know. There was never really a time when you would just like go to the record store anywhere in America and there was just like dollar bins brimming over with metal records. I mean, if anyone's left you with that impression, it was kind of, it's kind of a false impression. But every so often you would, like, you know, just sort of find shit, like someone blowing out a bunch of shit. If you didn't care about condition, you could scoop up a bunch of $5 records. I got my copy of the self-titled Mercy record from him then, too. I got that Maninia Blade record from him. You know, a lot of things that were sort of like $15, $20 records then, and I go to get them for $5. I was like, yeah, I'll check this shit out. Now a lot of those are like $40 records, so it's like, or more in the case of the Mercy. Yeah, this is lazy, man. You could say that that riff is a little bit lazy if you wanted to be clever and not funny. Because the fact is, this thing has a really cool swagger. And there's a looseness to it, you know what I mean? But it's still like, definitely metallic in intent, you know what I mean? It's not like they sound like AC/DC, but they're not like sort of rock and roll at heart the way AC/DC is. This is a metal band at heart. Yeah, look at that, man. No, fucking might as well show the front to you, too. Swedish band no one talks about. They're definitely not as hip as, Overdrive, Swords and Axes, or that first Europe album or something like that. Here's another record I was going to show. They were talking about this on Grown Man Record Night last week. I thought people might have thought I was fucking with it when I was talking about really liking this band, but yeah. I actually played this a lot. I played this last week, but yeah, this is my copy of the Question Mark and the Mysterians album. There's a DJ talking about how great they are. The second album is good too, but this is the one that I really latched on to. And I've talked about this before, but I actually saw them live in like 1998, so yeah, I don't have as much of this kind of 60s shit as I used to, but there's still a few things sitting around. Hey, here's what I wanted to talk about. Speaking of $5 records. So this is a band called Flynn. And this is a private press. And it's not cheap if you look for it online. But like it looks kind of like, it looks like promising. I found this at a record shop in Long Beach for like $6. It set off my spidey sense. Look how fucking many of them there are. There's 6 guys in this band. Anyway, I did the right thing by scooping it up when I saw what it was going for later on, but if you were thinking about like investing in a copy of this, let me just warn you, because it kind of sucks. I was kind of hoping it would be like those AORE Blue Oyster Cult records, since I'm still listening to like 60% Blue Oyster Cult. Still. But yeah, dude, it's just kind of wimpy and just kind of... Like, the edges were just rough enough that it was tolerable. You know what I mean? It's not terrible. It's not like, oh my god, this is fucking unlistenable. It was like, it was very commercial in intent, but gritty enough in delivery and in sort of in realization overall that, it's not a terrible record by any stretch. It's funny, the thing is making it look greener than it is. It's actually like a really blue. Yeah, the yellow, I think it's like fucking with the, that's weird. There are probably people watching this who know how the camera technology works. And they're like, oh yeah, you hold up a blue fucking thing and it overcompensates with the yellow because the fucking... I don't know, I almost said the guns, but it's not a CRT, obviously. Fuck that shit, whatever. Pulled this one out. This is another record that is probably more sought after than good. It's a very cool record, don't get me wrong, you know what I mean? Someone ought to reissue this one of these days. I would say that MC Blade does not need a reissue as badly as does Raven Bitch. Because Raven Bitch is fucking so good. And that thing is even harder to find than the MC... Well, I don't know if it's harder to find the MC Blade. They're probably comparable, but it's not the kind of record I want to send y'all looking for. Listen to this, by the way. What the fuck are they doing? I don't know, but I'm in. This is pretty rockin', isn't it? Still kind of has that swagger. Still has a little hint of that AC/DC sort of casualness to it, but it's definitely metal writing, you know what I mean? I don't know, man, this is what's cool about having a lot of records, I tend to be more of the school of buy good records rather than buying a lot of records, you know what I mean? I remember when, like, Ron, y'all probably watch Ron Haggerty over Metal Ron show, I'm sorry, I can't remember the latest iteration of his channel is, although I think he's just doing, Faith videos now exclusively. Anyway, if y'all know Ron, when he was like really getting close to 1,000 records, he was like building shit up. I was like, dude, don't let so much crap in just because you're going for that number. I understand, but because I totally did that, man. I had a whole bunch of shit. I got to like 2,000 records, and then I got rid of like, when I got to 2,500, I got rid of like 700. Like in my head, there have been 2 big purges in my collection, kind of in third one right now to a certain degree, but it's different terms, you know what I mean? But the first big purge was when I got rid of all these records and like got a bunch of Crouch shit on CD. This is like 90s. So that was, I figured it was hopeless ever finding any of that shit on records, so. back in the pre-internet days, right? Look, this turned into like another little edition of record collecting stories. Anyway, that was the first big purge, and there was like all the Elton John records went, all the Billy Joel records went, all just like the crap that you see with those records, the Cat Stevens records, the Police records, like the sort of shit that you end up with, or at least at that point in time you would end up with, just sort of because shit would find its way into your collection whether you cared about it or not. You know, whether you liked it was beside the point. So yeah, when it comes to doing like random pull, like 5 random records videos and shit like that, sometimes I wish there were more crap, but I've actually kind of kept the record collection curated, so. Anyway, all this by way of saying, I'm generally of the school that it's better to like have cooler shit. But sometimes you just have a lot of volume, you find shit just sitting there like this, you know what I mean? So my inclination is still like, if something looks like remotely metal, give it a chance, man. Because I've actually given you 2 success stories here, alright? In this case, it's a record that looks kind of dumb, but looks like it might be metal, right? And it's Fuck the Smokes, right? And in the other case, it's one that looks kind of like it might be metal, and actually it kind of sucks, but it's expensive, so you still kind of win, right? So that's the moral of the story. I'm 16 minutes in, so I'm going to show a couple more records, man. I'm going to bring this shit up to 20. It's funny. I just played this right before the video, like while I was sort of thinking about topics and shit. Because, oh, it's funny. This one isn't fucking with the camera the way the other one did. I kind of expected it to because of the ooh, you know. It's funny how as I've gotten deeper into Blue Oyster Cult, if I'm going to rank the albums, this one will probably be pretty close to the bottom. When for a long time I only liked the first 3 Blue Oyster Cult records before I got my head around the other stuff. You know, the whole phenomenon of getting so into a band like Blue Oyster Cult is a trip to me because it's not like I just discovered this band, you know what I mean? I've known them for years and years and years, you know? And I got to a point where I really liked the early records a lot, you know? And then I got to a point where someone introduced me to, the one's better, it's like Fire of Unknown Origin. And I really liked that one, but I didn't really like the other ones. So I got to the point where I was like, well, let me revisit the other ones. And I was like, oh my god, Agents of Fortune is great. And it was kind of like, well, from there, I'm just going to check them all out, you know? And like, having gone down that path and really taken a bunch of these in, I'm not saying this will be at the bottom, but it'll be kind of close to the bottom. And you know, the funny thing is, none of these records have changed. All the change has happened in me, you know? And that phenomenon I'm kind of fascinated by. Like, what is different about me this year from last year that makes me dig these Blue Oyster Cult records so much, where a year ago I would have sort of been like, you know, that's cool. And that would have been a step up from when I was like, dude, yeah, I got no use for Spectres, man. Is that the one with going through the motions on it? Yeah, fuck that up. By the way, I've shit all over the song Going Through the Motions off of Spectres by Blue Oyster Cult. In the interest of fairness, I have to say that record has an evil twin in late 70s Blue Oyster Cult malaise. And it's You're Not the One I Was Looking For off of Mirrors, which is definitely the worst song on Mirrors. And, you know, again, it's like the evil twin. That's like the throwaway one with like the really like shitty writing in the middle, like for like late 70s pop radio. Like, ugh, like fucking the absolute worst kind of shit they ever did, right? I think that's the 2 worst songs in their whole career, of what I know. Lazy is really fucking good, isn't it? Let's see what else we have here. Oh yeah, I've got another good one to talk about, actually. It's a weird one, too. I'll put on a minute of MC Blade, though, because, what a fucking weird name for a band, dude. I don't even know what that's supposed to mean. I really don't. I'm not sure if I want to, because, like, it won't necessarily help, you know? That's supposed to be like Motorcycle Club Blade or fucking Master of Ceremonies Blade. Fuck. Label's kind of cool. Actually, you know what's funny about MC Blade is this band really vibes out like a Christian band to me. There's something about this that says Jesus metal to me. And I don't think it is. I have no reason to believe it is. I mean, it's called Step Into the Light, right? I guess there's kind of some Christian overtones a little bit, but it's not like, this is not like a Christian record as far as like, some of the shit that I've shown in the past. This is maybe looks a little more Christian than the Child Saint record, which I don't even believe is actually a Jesus record at all. But compared to like Barren Cross or something, this is very understated. It's funny, I said another record, I already forgot what it was. Oh yeah! So someone told me about this in the fucking comments. This is a complete digression away from what we've been talking about. This is some guy named Jimmy Smack, and I kind of hate this cover, but he was like this weird guy who fucking played bagpipes and like had these weird electronics and like stood around and just like chanted like wearing this robe and shit. There's a picture in here. And the dude left me the comments saying that like, oh, fuck, I knew I'd forget his name when the time came. And I'm sorry, but the guy doesn't make videos or else I'd feel really bad about not hyping his channel. But check this fucking shit out, man. Alex thought that was what he looked like. And like, I hadn't heard of this guy before. Jimmy Smack. I guess he made a couple 45s and this kind of compiles those, and maybe there was something else, but yeah, it's a weirdo record. I haven't quite decided if I like it or not yet. I'll probably hype it at some point in the future, but if you've never heard of Jimmy Smack and you want to hear something you've never heard before, right there. So, I'm also showing this just to say that, like, when you leave me comments, I take that shit seriously. Here's another one, actually, also in sort of a different vein that I played recently. I just picked up this not too long ago. New one by this band, Oregon. That's kind of a great cover anyway, right? This is more like... You know what this is like? This band sounds like they listened a lot to the first 3 Funkadelic records. And they're like, I want to be a little bit more rock than this. Yeah. Maybe a little bit funkier too, like a little more brass and shit. But, I don't even remember how much brass there is on this record. Anyway, it's definitely sort of a rock bend, but really cool shit. And still really funky too, in spite of that, It's not dissimilar to shit like the Dirty Dozen Brass Band and shit. Not the Dirty Dozen Brass Band. Black Market Brass, sorry. There's some of the other shit that I've hyped, on my Coal Mine label and some of that shit. So, doesn't this sound like Jesus metal? This record's awesome. Yeah, they're called Oregon. Sample it online at least, because they're still around, so they get used for it. I don't know what it is. It's something about the singer. Does it kind of sound like Jesus metal? It's not just this song either. Here, I'll jump in ahead. Like, that song's sort of like the most epic one on this, The other shit's a little bit more, I hate to say pedestrian, but, this is definitely less big riff, you know what I mean? It's funny, I put on some, religion video that I thought would be funny about, something or another being satanic. Yeah, see, this is not as heavy. If you, went and, searched for this for years and you got this, I think you might be a little bit bummed. So that's the other reason I want to talk about this. It's a very cool piece, and I like this record, but they do this, too. And doesn't this kind of sound like a filler track on a Jesus metal record? Maybe even without the backing vocals, you know what I mean? But, I don't know, man. Maybe they're like a closeted Christian metal band, MC Blade. They seem to meet some of the criteria. There's their little fucking logo. Alright, I think that's enough. Thanks for... Actually, it's not enough. We're going to listen to one more track, because I'm not quite ready to rest my case yet here on MC Blade being a closeted Jesus metal band. Maybe I'll call the video that. That'll totally rope in the fucking people. Like, name a video, like something about some metal band no one's heard of, some private press thing. Yeah, people don't watch that shit. This one picks it up again a little bit, right? Okay, this sounds a little less like Christian metal here. Yeah, this one kind of undermines my case a little bit. Side one really sounded like a Jesus record, though. And the last song on this does, too, but I think I just understand my case. 3 out of 4 songs, does that make it a closeted Jesus metal record? Now, if I were like one of those Tool channels, I'd say, tell me in the comments below. But as it is, if you want to leave me a comment, you can leave me a comment. If not, you don't fucking have to. We're all good. But if you do leave one, I'll reply. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.